to the Latina Leadership Podcast, the podcast made for Latinas by Latinas, with Angelica Cázares, Carolina Arenas, Diana Ruby, Jacqueline Villagomez, and Sonia Ramirez. Get comfortable, amiga, and enjoy the conversations. Welcome to another episode of the Latina Leadership Podcast. My name is Jacqueline Villagomez. I am joined today with Sandra Velasquez. Sandra, I'm gonna throw it to you. Introduce yourself. Tell us who you are.
Yes, thank you so much. My name is Sandra Velasquez, and I am the founder of Nopalera, which is a clean collection of bath and body products powered by Mexico's nopal cactus. And the brand is about to turn 3 years old. I launched it from my Brooklyn apartment by myself. I used to make the products by myself, and thankfully that's no longer the case. I now have a team in place, and we're in about 400 retailers, and very much here to create Latinas aspirational in the beauty category.
Awesome. That is so cool. Well, I'm really excited to talk to you today. Just looking at your career and how you started and your musical background. I want to talk about all of it. But let's start from the beginning. Where's your family from, and what was your upbringing like? Tell us about little Sandra.
Yeah, I was born and raised in San Diego, California, and my mother's from Guerrero, Mexico. My father is actually Chicano, like me. He was born in Central Valley, California, but his parents were from Mexico. And growing up, I was a musician. I was a musician my whole life, actually, before I started Nopalera, and that's what I thought I was put on earth to do. I never had any inclination that I would become an entrepreneur or own a beauty brand, at that. No one in my family is an entrepreneur. And but one thing that my parents did instill in me is cultural pride. And that is something that I have taken with me across everything that I've done. Even when I was a musician, I used to use music as a platform to celebrate culture and tell stories. And now I just do it through a product brand.
I love that. You talked about, being musical. What I guess what in your family or what from your upbringing kind of do you think kind of helped push you into where you are now?
Well, I think definitely what I just mentioned about, being really instilled with cultural pride. As I like to say, everyone in my household growing up had their fist in the air. And so, but again, no one was an entrepreneur. So that was not modeled to me. No one told me to do that. No one gave me that idea. I actually, started Nopalera out of a place of discomfort from finding myself unemployed for the first time in my mid-40s. And so it was a matter of, I'm either going to keep doing the same thing, which got me here, which is with no savings, student loan debt, personal credit card debt, or I'm going to make a change and take a completely different action. And that's when I decided that I was going to build something. And that was going to be how I was going to change my life. And that's what I did.
I love that. Now you grew up in California, and you mentioned your father was Chicano. My dad was too. I remember growing up, and he used to always, he was a very proud Chicano, so he'd always talk about, la raza and all that. And how did that impact you growing up as far as like your cultural identity?
Well, I mean, I grew up in San Diego, which is a border town. I mean, most people think of San Diego as like a vacation spot, and, they just think of it as its own thing, but it is very much a border town. I grew up 10 minutes from the US-Mexico border, and I grew up bicultural, and that was normal to me. And everyone around me was the same. And so it wasn't really until I got to New York City when I was, 23 or something, that I realized, oh, there aren't just Mexicans everywhere. And no, there are not Chicanos everywhere. Not even everyone here knows what that is. And so,
true.
So that was for me so grateful that I grew up in a place where I felt, seen, that it was normal to speak both languages. You listen to cumbia at home, you listen to Led Zeppelin in the car, and that was the bicultural reality, and that's, and for me, that is such a gift because I always had, one foot here, one foot there.
Yes, I am. My father's, he's already passed, but I miss that about him. He was, he definitely had the Led Zeppelin and the Pink Floyd playing in the car, but he was so proud of where he came from. My family's like from the Valley here in Texas. And so, it's, there's definitely a lot of pride there, a lot of cultural pride. So So we have to talk about your musical background. Now I'm a singer, so I when I saw it, when I saw who you were, I was like, okay, we have to talk about this. Okay. um, so you're not just a singer, like you're trained, like you went to university for music. You majored in music. You have a degree in it. You're I mean, I feel like you're like a true Renaissance woman. You can you're doing it all. But let's talk about your music background. What you said that you used to think that was something you were put on earth to do. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I went to music school. I went to Cal Arts in Los Angeles. I studied, I went there for piano performance actually, but then ended up getting
Mhm.
sucked into all sorts of different music, like the African music, that program, the Balinese music program. And I really thought that, yeah, music was what I was going to do for the rest of my life. And so I
Mhm.
always maintained like an easy day job that wouldn't suck my energy and time so that I could dedicate my energy to music.
Yeah.
And I was the songwriter, right? I was the lead singer. I was a guitarist. I booked the tours. I drove the van. I carried the amp. So I really did everything. I mean, most people, when you hear like, oh, yeah, I was in a band, they just think, oh, you're just on stage having fun.
Like,
But there's
oh,
so
yeah.
much operational back end that happens in order to make that happen. And so I think that, looking back, all of those experiences absolutely helped me become an entrepreneur, because being a performing musician, a touring musician, is very difficult. And not only that, but what music taught me was it strengthened my resilience muscle, because you deal with a lot of
Mm.
rejection when you're a performer. You get a lot
Yeah.
of no's from clubs, and that is so key, because entrepreneurship is so difficult that if you get, sidetracked because someone said no, a retailer said no, or whatever it is, you have to be able to push through, right? And you have to keep your eye
Yes.
on the prize.
Yes. Yeah. Well said. That's so true. Yeah. Your band, Pistolera.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to ask you real quick. What was the meaning behind the name?
Pistolera
What was
just
the significance?
Pistolera just means female gunslinger, and because it was
Mhm.
mostly women in the band, it was always from a place of strength. So it was always from a place of strength and resilience and cultural pride.
Very cool. I like that. So moving on, okay, so you find yourself, like you said, you were in your 40s, you were unemployed, and you were like, what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, how does you know how did you, I guess, come upon the idea of a skincare brand? With skincare, something that was like important, very important to you?
No, it wasn't really about skincare. It was more about disrupting the beauty industry that was very Eurocentric. Because when you look
Ah,
at prestige beauty, you see a lot of French brands. They have dominated, and
yes.
but that's not actually who lives here. Who actually lives here are us. And so,
Yeah.
why is it that there were no high end Latina brands? And on the same token, I would see in stores the African heritage brands, things like Shea Moisture, Alafia, Nubian
Yeah.
Heritage. And I'm like, wow, they're doing a great job of bringing their culture forward to the shelf. You can see it, and you see that is an African brand or African
Right.
inspired brand, or a brand that is
Right.
celebrating that part of themselves. And I didn't see anyone in the Latino community doing that. And
That's true.
so
That's so
to
true.
me, that was the opportunity. And that is why I decided, I'm going to build this high end Latina brand to live in that space and to normalize us, the value of our goods, and therefore the value of us as people. And that's really my mission ultimately, is to change the conversation and the narrative about the value of our goods and therefore the value of us. I chose beauty because it's something that, well, it's beauty is the larger category, but I'm really in
Mhm.
the personal care space, right? So it's really
Yeah.
about those products that you use every single day. We all take showers, we all use deodorant, right? And
Right.
so um, that is something that I wanted to make sure that we made products that people needed, that people used every day. And the skincare category is very crowded, right? So I just did not see
Yes.
myself in the skincare category. Like, you know, I didn't want to have anything to do with the anti-aging movement, right? Because I'm very pro-aging. And so for me,
Yeah.
body care was that sweet spot. And so that's why I decided on body care.
Body care. I like that. I like that a lot. And it's true. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So when I was in college, like I had a part-time job as working in the beauty section for a Walgreens. Okay. And that was I got so familiar with everything that's sold over the counter and all these, all the popular brands. Um, but yeah, that was always something. Now, I'm from the East End here in Houston. So like we have a large Hispanic community, especially Mexican community, so we have a huge community here. And so like on our shelves, we almost always have, products from Mexico,
Hmm.
and so we had those products, right? That products that you could find, but like nothing that was like homegrown here,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
That was Latino, And so I think that's really important. What you said is so true. You don't see that a lot. And so I know we're beginning to see more skincare, beauty products that are homegrown from Latino brands. I know Target. I know they're really good about like putting out like different like products that from different cultures. So I love that. Um, let's go back again and talk about Shark Tank. Just a little bit because I know you're on Shark Tank. Um, it's from what I've read, I know that it sounds like you declined the offer, right? What was going to your mind at that time?
Yeah, so I got two offers on Shark Tank. I got an offer from Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, and another one from Daniel Lubetsky, who is the Mexican founder of Kind Bar. And I turned them both down. They both were asking for too much percentage of the company. And I had
Mhm.
already started my fundraising journey at that point when I was filming. And so I knew that the company was worth more, first of all. And second
Yeah.
of all, that if I were to have said yes to their offers, it would devalue the company. And that goes against the whole point of why I created the company in the first place. And
Right.
so again, you mentioned, like Target, for example. Again, it's like there's Target has done a great job of bringing in like Black founders, Latina founders into their shelves, but they want them at a value price. And so again, this concept that like everything Latino has to be $3 at Target is exactly what I'm fighting against. And that's
Yeah.
why, no,
Yeah.
you cannot have 30% of my company for $300,000. So it was scary to say no to that money because who doesn't need $300,000? But the reality and
Right.
what people don't understand is how much money it actually takes to build a company is millions. And so,
Mhm.
that $300,000 that would have gotten me like two purchase orders worth of product. I have 7 products, so it's not
Yeah.
even enough. And
Wow.
so I just knew that if they weren't going to budge, then it was going to be a no.
Yeah. Yeah. You are advocating for yourself and advocating for something bigger. It sounds like your vision was much bigger. Let's talk a little bit about your vision for this for your beauty brand. Where did that come from, and where do you see it going?
Yeah. So, it came from again this gap that I saw, and I actually, when I had the idea, like when it came to me, my instinct was one of responsibility. Like if I don't do this, someone else is going to come and do this poorly, like Johnson and Johnson or Procter and Gamble, and it's not going to be from us, and it's not going to
Right.
be authentic. It's not going to be. They're not even going to know what to do or what to say, and so for me, once I had the idea, I was like, I have to do this. But the problem is I didn't know how to get it done. I didn't have any money to build a business. And so that was a whole other journey, right? So I built my whole business, and I'm proud to say this, on a payment plan. I, ordered it. I enrolled in formulation school on my American Express card on the payment
Mm-hmm.
plan. I learned how to make products. I bought ingredients in small quantities, and I made them myself for the very first year. Even, when we launched in Nordstrom, I was still making the products. And so again, but to answer your question, the vision, like I mentioned, is always to create this high end aspirational Latina brand. And that means saying no to Target, saying no to JCPenney, saying no to QVC. We've said no to hundreds of retailers that have come to us
Wow.
to
Yeah.
protect brand integrity. And it goes back to that same thing that I guess exemplified on Shark Tank, which is just because someone offers you something, it does not mean that you have to say yes. Nor does
Right.
it mean that it's the only offer you're ever going to get, nor does it mean that it's the best that you can do. And so, when you create a business, or you're building a brand, you need to know why, and that why is your North Star, and that's what guides you. And that's what makes it easy to say yes and no as things come at you, and to not be desperate and just, give your company away just because someone, is offering you money.
That's beautiful. I don't know why I'm tearing up as you're talking. I am not a crier at all. But what you're saying is is very inspirational and spot on, and is so needed, um, especially in this day and age. We see so many movements, but something I've seen come up a lot is that the Hispanic community, um, there's so many of us, we're so strong in numbers, but not necessarily in unity, right? And so having a brand like yours out there, Nopalera, it's something that adds to the strength, and I think something that helps to unify us and put us out there, and there's beauty and strength in our culture, pride, that is, I mean, also we're in, Hispanic Heritage Month. So what better, moment to also highlight that, the importance of a brand like yours.
I think
Now,
also, just to add to what you're saying is, when you're asking me like, what is the vision and what is the goal? The goal is to widen the breadth of the offerings of Latino products in the market, because there's lots of Latinos that have brands. I have met many Latina makers, small business owners, and they're very small, right? And so, and they're selling to their local communities and there's nothing wrong with that, right? But where are the big brands? Where are the big brands that are stretching, the offering, in every category, and what I mean by stretching, I mean, like, you should be able to go to Target and buy a Latina brand for like $5, but you should also be able to go to Sephora and buy one for 40. Because that is what the other cultures have done. That's what European cultures have done since the beginning. And so why do we have to all be at the bottom in the low end?
Absolutely. It's that's exactly right. That's absolutely right. It's spot on. I know I want to just, for people who don't know, for listeners that don't, I'm sure, I mean, if you're Latina, you know what a nopal is. But for people who don't know, what a nopal is, why the importance, to Mexican culture, can you just speak a little bit on that?
Yeah. So Nopalera is the name of the cactus plant when it's in the ground. So Nopalera in English is called a prickly pear cactus. No Latino that I know ever calls it that. We call it a nopal. But for everyone else that is not Spanish speaking, it is a prickly pear cactus. And we have been eating it for thousands of years. I call it the most Mexican plant ever because it's even on the Mexican flag. If you look at the Mexican flag, you will see that there's a nopalera with an eagle on top with a snake in its mouth. And there's a whole legend behind that as to why. So it's very culturally symbolic. It's also incredibly versatile and highly sustainable and regenerative, meaning it doesn't need anything to grow. And you can also cut it and a new one will grow. So I don't know any other plant that does that, but that is what nopalera means. It's just literally the name of the plant.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Now, Nopalera, I was reading the ethos, which says to stand in your worth and embody the bold, and by any and all means remain resilient. Let's talk about that a little bit. Because these are this is a strong statement, stand in your worth. We have worth, and embody the bold and remain resilient. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, so standing your worth is really what I showed on Shark Tank, right, on national television, which is, if you know in your gut that you are worth more, that you deserve more, that you deserve better, then it is up to you to fight for that. No one is going to come and give it to you. No one is going to come and save you. No one is going to rescue you. No one can read your mind. So it is up to you to tell people that, hey, this is what I'm worth. And if you are not okay with that, then it's not a good fit. And that includes everything from your job to a relationship to Shark Tank to whatever. And so that's really one of our core values here at Nopalera, is to stand in our worth. And that means that people come after us and they want to complain about the prices. And I'm like, well, then go shop another brand. We are not the only brand on planet Earth. There are many options, and we are trying to widen the options for people. And so, embody the bold is, again, this is, our tagline, and this is, you have to be it, right? It is not outside of you. It is you. And so that's something, when we say embody the bold, that's what that means.
I love that. And remain resilient.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about the nopalera, right? You cut it off, it grows back, right?
Yeah.
And being in this business, you have to be resilient, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, what does the future hold for Nopalera?
Well, right now we are in a stage of growth where we really are ready to go to the next level with a national key retailer. So for us, for a brand like ours, like I mentioned earlier, we're not going to Target, we're not doing CVS, we're not doing Walmart. So we really are playing in the premium space. And so for us, that's either Sephora or Ulta. And that is where we are in our business, is we need that national key retailer to really expand nationally before we start going overseas.
I love that. Um, well, I definitely hope to see you at either Sephora or Ulta because I am a frequent there. So personally, I'm looking forward to that. But where can if someone wants to purchase your products right now, where can we find you?
You can find Nopalera on our website, nopalera.co. You can also go to Credo Beauty. You can also go to Nordstrom.com. And we are in about 400 boutiques across the country, too many to name. But really, the best place to support us is on our website right now.
Wonderful. And if somebody wants to find you, Sandra, connect with you on social media, see what you're up to, where can people find you if you're on social media or if you have a website?
Yeah, so all of our socials are connected on our website, but yes, on Instagram, nopalera.co, also on TikTok, nopalera.co. And then, we have a private Facebook community for people that want to join. So you can look for us there, the Nopalera community. So that's where, we share details about things that are coming up and what we're thinking, what we're doing, and we love feedback. So definitely people should join us there. And that's it.
Wonderful. One more question that we always ask our guests, and with the name of our podcast, Latina Leadership. So, do you consider yourself a Latina leader, and why?
Yes. I mean, I actually have always been a natural leader. I was a leader of a band for 20 years. And so being front and center on stage with a microphone is my comfort place. I think the thing about being a leader is, and I think all of us can be leaders. I think all of us should be aware that someone is watching, someone is looking up to all of us. Someone is looking up to you. Someone is looking up to me. And so it's just a matter of that awareness and understanding that every action you take has reverberates in the community. And so I know that people are watching me, right? And what I'm building, and that it's, I get a lot of messages, a lot of people that tell me that, my journey has inspired them. And so, the leadership part is just always moving in integrity, is just making sure that you are moving in integrity, which means you need to know who you are, what your values are, and what's important. And every decision you make, this stems from there.
That's beautiful. Is there anything, let me actually ask you real quick. What's in the future for you, I guess, even beyond Nopalera? Have you considered writing a book? I'm just curious because your journey is so inspirational.
Yeah, I mean, I think that at some point there will be a book, but it's too soon for me to write a book right now because I'm still really early in my journey. There's still a lot that has to be accomplished. Yes. I am working on a book project that has a lot of other Latinas in it. So I have been approached for a book offer, but it's not my story, right? It's not all just about me, and which is good for right now. Eventually, yes, there will probably be a book.
Very cool. Can't wait. I look forward to that. Is there anything else that that maybe we didn't cover that you want to speak to?
Yeah, I think that it's important for people to understand that when you are a product-based business, the best way that you can support us is by buying our product. And, and I say that because we are in this moment now where the summer was very rough for us. We were sold out of products. Everyone was traveling. The summer's always slow for people that run e-com brands. And now here we are in Q4 and we're trying to, lift everything back up in terms of, hitting our revenue goals and making sure that costs are covered. And that we get a lot of applause, right? We get a lot of likes on LinkedIn. We get a lot of reposts. I have a lot of people telling me how inspiring I am, but none of that matters if we go out of business. Yes. And so please do not take us for granted, right? Because I think people think that Nopalera is a big brand. because of how we are perceived, right? We've put a lot into our branding, our photography, everything that we stand for, how we show up in the world. But we are 5 people, right? And so people think we're this big company and they just take us for granted that we're going to be around forever. And that's not true. You know, so it really relies on all of you shopping and, you know, buying corporate gifts and supporting us with your purchases. That's how we survive. That's the only way we make money, is when people buy the product. So I think it's important to state that reality, that if you are inspired, if you've ever seen me appear anywhere, you know, I've done a lot of podcasts. I have my own podcast, right? I do a lot of interviews, get a lot of press. None of that matters if people don't shop.
That's true. All right, people. So you heard it. Nopalera. Shop. Go buy your beauty products. Tell us a little bit about just quickly the most popular products, just so people kind of have an idea, maybe inspire them to do some online shopping right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, it depends, you know, what you're looking for. Are you shopping for yourself? Are you shopping for gifts? We have a lot of great gifts this year that are like cute, curated sets. We have like cute soap mini trios and gift boxes. But I think our number one seller is probably our exfoliants, our cactus flower body scrubs. So the Mandarina was voted number 1 body scrub by People magazine. And so that's very popular. And then our new launch is really popular right now because everyone is buying that. So the new Dulce de Cuerpo launch, which is a cactus body cream and a cactus shower gel that both have prickly pear oil, you know, or aceite de nopal in them. So they're very luxurious. And the scent is inspired by copal, which is a resin from Mexico that's used for ceremonies and purifying. So that's very popular right now too. And we also have a discovery set of minis if you are not ready to commit to the full size.
I love that. Okay, well, I'm definitely going to check that out. People, shop. Go on Nopalera on the website. That's the best way to purchase the products. Let's show our support. Again, this is such a timely, I think, interview. Also, just what you represent in Nopalera, I think, is so important for our culture, for the climate, for the current climate, you know, socially and you know, literally, you know. So thank you so much for being a guest on our podcast and for, you know, really just inspiring us, not just, you know, again, not just culturally, but, you know, as an entrepreneur, you know, letting us know the realities of business and how a business grows, right? I mean, it's not all, you know, social media and, you know, cute photos and, you know, there's the work that goes into it, you know, and the grind, you know. You know, what is that saying? The hustle is real, right? It's so thank you so much. It's truly a pleasure to speak to you, and we can't wait to see what the future holds for Nopalera.
Thank you.
All right, so thank you again, Sandra, for being a guest on the Latina Leadership Podcast. Bye. What did you think of the conversation? If you enjoyed what you heard, let us know in the comments. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Thank you for listening to the Latina Leadership Podcast, and we will see you next time.